Welcome to today's webinar on Controller to FP&A. So most of us start with our questions. Most of us start with our accounting qualifications. We may have done our graduation in accounting or any of the popular accounting qualifications like a CA, CPA, ACCA. Slowly, as you rise up to the ranks to becoming a CFO, you will notice that a lot of commercial aspects are introduced in your career, and accounting and compliance starts taking a backseat. So that's why FP&A is gaining so much of prominence today. And that is what we are here to learn and understand a little bit more about FP&A. So a little bit about us before we begin with. My name is Dhawal Parvatikar. I'm a qualified chartered accountant. 16 plus years experience across various industries like oil and gas, software, advertising, and public relations. I've also worked with a commodity trading company. I've served as CFO in India and in the Middle East. I'm now the co-founder and lead faculty at FP&A Professionals Institute. I've mentored thousands of chartered accountants. Probably this number is pretty old now. Last 5 years, I've been an active trainer, mentor, and a coach, and I've trained more than 5,000 professionals on various topics like FP&A, finance business partnering, data storytelling, finance team leading, and CFO coaching as well. I'm happy to partner with my co-founder Asif Masani. Asif, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dhawal, for having me. Quick introduction about me. So I've been working in finance and mostly in P&A, financial planning and analysis roles for over a decade now. And I started my career as a FP&A analyst with Citibank back in 2013. And over the years, became a senior analyst, from senior analyst to a manager. And finally, my most recent role was a FP&A regional lead for Coursera. I have also written two of the Amazon best-selling books on FP&A. Those are all about FP&A and from accounting to FP&A that you see on the screen. Apart from that, I have been contributing regularly on various FP&A platforms like FP&A Trends, Finance Alliance. Also, I have a LinkedIn newsletter which is read by more than 87,000 people on LinkedIn. So that's a little bit about me, and always, as usual, happy to partner with Dhawal on FP&A Professionals Institute, and looking forward to interacting with you. Also, we have had the opportunity to meet several experts across the globe. And what we try to do at FPI is bring all of those expertise and insights, experiences through our training programs, through our certifications, through our books, through our podcast. So that is what our objective is. And you can see these are all the courses we started back in 2018 when Dhawal started his first FP&A, which was one of the first courses on FP&A on Udemy, which is FP&A Foundations. And over the last 5 to 6 years, we have trained more than 3,500 students. Now the number must be close to 4,000. And across all of these courses that you see on the screen. So that is a little bit about FP&A Professional Institute. And with that, we will get started with our webinar today.
Thank you for the introduction, Asif. So what are we going to cover today? So a quick roadmap of today's session. So we'll start by understanding how the controller world functions, and then what is the difference between controller world and the FP&A world, right? So how does the controller function differ from FP&A, and why is FP&A gaining so much of prominence today? Then what are some of the key activities in FP&A? So we'll discuss 3 or 4 key activities in FP&A, and I'll show you some examples. Some of it you will do it along with me. Some of it you will just follow what I'm sharing, and we'll try and cover some activities about FP&A as well. And then finally, I will share with you some tips and strategies about transitioning from an accounting and compliance focused roles into FP&A. So that's what we're going to cover today. Next 60 minutes, get rid of all the distractions. We're going to cover a lot of ground, and hopefully you will have some great takeaways after this program as well. So don't get rid of all the distractions, your social media and everything. So focus on what we're trying to share here. I'll be a little bit fast paced. So if you have any questions, feel free to note them down. We'll have a detailed Q&A at the end of the session as well. Great. So let us start by understanding the CFO's office. Okay. A CFO has 3 primary responsibilities. One is the controllership function, which is about your routine hygiene of accounting, right? So it comes here, you have your AP, your AR, GL, tax, financial reporting, statutory audit, internal audit, SOX audit. All the compliance aspects come under the controller bucket of the CFO function. And then you have your treasury, which is all about cash management, banking relationships, your credit lines from various sources, making sure that you are following a good credit policy. All of those things come under the treasury umbrella of the CFO's office. Now, amidst all this chaos, somebody needs to keep a track on the performance of the business. How are we pricing our products? What are the margin on our products? Are our business units running profitably? All these questions are answered by FP&A. So the main role of FP&A is to provide timely and accurate insights to the CFO and other senior business leaders in the company so that they can take informed financial decisions. Some of the key activities in FP&A would be budgeting, forecasting, different types of financial analysis, commercial analysis, okay, and management reporting. So this is what largely FP&A role is about. And our focus today will be on FP&A. And this is how a CFO's office looks like. Now, if your ambition is to become a CFO, then you will need to kind of try and get an experience across all these pillars. Okay, most of us have fair bit of compliance experience and controllership experience, but FP&A and treasury is something which we'll have to acquire on the way. There are no courses. It's not covered in your chartered accountancy or any of your accounting qualifications. It's more experiential in nature. So that's what we'll be focusing on today. Now, what are the differences between the controller world and the FP&A world? So let us understand these differences by the conversations that are happening in these roles. Okay. Now, what are the conversations? Focus in the controllership function is all about compliance, financial reporting, making sure that the statutory audit, internal audit, everything is in place. Accounts are reconciled, entries are posted, shareholder reports are appropriately published. All of those things are largely compliance-oriented tasks that a controller carries out. Then the conversations in the FP&A circle around forward-looking insights, budgeting, planning, forecasting, right? What are the trends that we are seeing, seasonality? All of these things come under the FP&A, where we are looking at the coming quarters or the coming financial year and trying to plan our activities around it. That is what is financial planning and analysis. The stakeholder interaction in the controllership function will all be focused on auditors, accountants, taxes, regulators, all compliance related matters. That is what you will be interacting with different stakeholders. Whereas in the FA role, you will be interacting with the C-suite, your CMO, your CHRO, your CTO, business unit leads, cross-functional team members, right? Sales teams, business teams, HR teams. You will be interacting with all these different kind of team members and help them plan their business and plan their next steps in the coming financial year. That is what is all about. Technology conversations will all be circling around your ERP or your compliance softwares or consolidation softwares or tax reconciliation softwares. But in the FP&A world, it's all about performance management, planning tools, long-range planning, short-range planning, driver-based planning, integrated planning, all of these things, whichever tool enables you to carry out these kind of planning activities, that is what is the conversation around technology in FP&A. Then comes your budget versus budgeting and variance analysis. In the controller function, you just need to understand what has happened in the past. Are we meeting our budgets? Are we under the budget? Are we over the budget? That is what a controller needs to know. But in the A world, you are again trying to reshape the budget as well. Like for example, I created my budget at the start of the year, but after 3 months, I noticed that there are some market changes that I need to give effect to. So I'll make all those changes in the upcoming forecast, right? So again, in terms of budgets and forecasts, is slightly more future looking and trying to gauge how the market looks like and what are some of the amendments that we need to do in terms of forecasts and budgets. So these are the two completely different levels of conversation that happen in the controller world and the FP&A world. I hope now you're getting a flavor of how controller roles are different from FP&A roles. Now, a quick disclaimer here is that sometimes you may end up in a blended role, which means that your designation might actually be a controller, but you might be working on a lot of FP&A aspects as well. Okay, and it happened with me once because we were a small and medium enterprise. We did not have distinct functions for FP&A and controllership. So it was a blended role where I was engaged in the controller duties as well. And I was also looking at the budgeting, forecasting, planning, pricing, all of these things as well, right? So it may happen like that. But generally, if you're working for a large organization, the controllership function and the commercial or FP&A function will be distinct. Okay. Now, what are some of the questions that come to you in the FP&A role on a day-to-day basis? Now, this will give you a good flavor of how FP&A role works like and how does your typical FP&A day looks like. Okay. So the business unit lead or the department head may come back and ask you, what is the Q1 target for our department? Or what is the Q1 revenue target for our department? Classic question from a department head or a business unit head. You look at your budgets or your forecast and then answer this question. Then how much have we set aside for LinkedIn marketing for this year? And what is the quarterly breakup? Again, a classic question from a marketing director. He would like to understand his marketing budgets. What are his options? How much can he spend in Q1? How much can he spend in Q2? He would like to have answers for all those questions as well. Out of the 50 headcount additions, how many are we planning to hire in Q2? Again, a question that comes from the HR lead where you are, a question that comes from the HR lead where you are helping the HR lead plan or phase these hires. Now, yes, we want 50 headcount additions, but will they come on 1st of January? No, you will have to phase them throughout the financial year. See how many you want to hire in Q1, see how many you want to hire in Q2, basis the developments that are happening in the business. That is where you have to closely work with the HR to make sure that the resourcing is not only adequate, but it is also hired at the right time in the financial year. Then next comes your, how much new business do I need to bring in Q4 to cover the shortfall in Q3? Classic question from a sales head. We missed our target for Q3. Now, how much extra do I need to do in Q4 to meet the yearly target, right? That is where you'll have to run some scenarios and explain to the sales head as to how much target we need to cover in Q4. Okay. And will we be able to cover all the shortfall or no? Then what is the impact on profit if we drop our prices by 8%? Again, a classic scenario planning question, which might come from your CEO or COO or sales head, right? If we drop our prices, then what is the impact on products and profitability? If we increase our prices, then what is the impact on sales and profitability, right? Classic scenario planning question. So these are some of the questions. Again, a very few examples of questions that will come to you on a day-to-day basis in a FP&A role. Now, if you notice, one thing about these questions is that none of these questions are actually answered by your accounting knowledge. They have nothing to do with your IFRS, your US GAAP, your accounting standard, or any of that compliance related stuff for that matter. All of these things are commercial, management accounting oriented, management reporting oriented. That is where it differs from a controllership or a compliance oriented function. So you will have to rewire yourself towards these commercial conversations, towards these performance conversations. That is when you will be able to execute a payroll. Now, what are some of the key components of FP&A function? Now, there could be dozens of activities that the team must be carrying out. Okay, but here are some core 4 activities which are common across any company you go to, like small, medium, large, doesn't matter. These are the 4 core activities that are carried out in almost every company. Budgeting, which is basically preparing your annual plan for the upcoming financial year. It has your estimated sales, different kind of costs, and your estimated operating profit. Forecasting, which is more about tracking the ongoing performance of the business. Okay, and we look at some examples as we reach the forecasting section in this training. Variance analysis and profitability analysis, again, different kind of analysis that you execute to prepare your management commentaries, to prepare your management reports, which you will be submitting to various decision makers on a monthly basis or on a quarterly basis or on a weekly basis, as the case might be, right? And variance analysis could be any kind of variance: actual versus budget, actual versus forecast, current month versus previous month, current quarter versus previous quarter, current year to date versus previous year to date. All of these things are different kind of variance analysis, where you will dig deep into these variances and understand the business reasons behind these variances. Not just that we missed an accrual, some extra accrual was done last month, so that's why we reversed it this year. Those are not variances. Okay, business reasons is something which the management is looking for. Profitability analysis, again, different types of profitability analysis: branch profitability, business unit profitability, department profitability, regional profitability, right? SKU level profitability, client profitability, different types of profitabilities depending on how your company is structured and what is the complexity of your business. Okay, so these are some of the core activities that are carried out in the FP&A function. Now, let us start understanding each of them one by one with an example as well. So we will start with a B2B revenue budget case study. Okay, B2B revenue budget case study. I will be solving this case study on the screen. Please follow along the instructions. And after we solve the case study, we will be pausing for some questions. But in the meantime, I'll be asking you some questions which you will be responding in the chat box. So 100% attention on the case study. Please get rid of all the distractions and let's focus on this case study and build the revenue budget for the upcoming financial year for this company. Okay, you're working with Infosys as a business finance manager, primarily looking at client contracts. Sorry, just give me a second. Yeah, client contracts, business unit profitability, and business unit FP&A. So we are actually embedded in a business unit. Infosys is a B2B software company providing software services to various clients. B2B, business to business. It does not sell directly to the consumer. In fact, it sells to other businesses. Revenue generated by Infosys is largely split between retainer contracts and projects. Retainer contracts, where for a fixed scope of work, you are being paid a fixed sum every month, either billed on a fixed amount basis or on a time basis, that you are deploying X number of software engineers at $200 per hour, senior team leaders at $300 per hour, something like that. Yeah. So that's a retainer contract. Project is project based, where you complete a certain milestone in the project and you bill 25%, 50%, 75%, as the case might be. You are required to work with the business lead and prepare revenue projections for 2024. Senior management guidance is to aim for at least 12% revenue growth in 2023. Senior management asks you to prepare a budget and ensure that the growth is at least 12% over 2023. And assume that now you are at the end of 2023. Remember, what is the timeline? You are at the end of 2023 and you have to build your budget for 2024. So let's get started. So classic any budgeting steps, right? So I would first get my templates ready. I will get my historical data ready. I'll analyze the past and then go into the discussion with the business leaders and try and understand and build projections for the upcoming financial year. So here is my template, right? So here is my template where I have my clients. I have what is a type, whether it's a retainer or a project. What is the revenue been for 2023? Retainer, if it's a retainer, then what is a retainer per month, right? And here I have my discussion notes that I have just had with the business unit lead. So what I'll now do is I will go through these discussion notes and give effect to them one by one to prepare my revenue budget for financial year 2024. Okay, let's get started. Visa, again, I'll be slightly fast, so follow along. And if you still have questions, we can take it after the case study as well. Visa will renew its contract for one more year at the same rate. So Visa retainer is at $1 million per month. Okay, and this will continue till the end of the year. So I'm just going to take it and drag it till December. Okay, $1 million continuing till the end of the year. Bank of America contract ends June 24, and there is a strong possibility that it may not renew. Bank of America is paying us $500,000 per month. It is going to continue till June. And after June, for whatever reason, the business unit lead feels that the client will not renew their contract or they may not need our services. So that's why we are not counting anything from July onwards. IBM has agreed to renew the contract with an escalation of $100,000 per month. So IBM is at $1.4 million per month. Escalation of $100,000 means it will be at $1.5 million per month. And then I'll continue till the end of the year. So they are agreed to renewing the contract. So remember, we are at the end of December or November 2023. Okay. So we have already started having conversations with our existing clients that are they going to renew for the next financial year or no, right? Typically in large cases or large service companies, the contract negotiation itself will take for a few weeks, probably 4 to 8 weeks, right? So that's why you need to start your conversations well in advance so that you are able to execute the renewals. Now, next point, ExxonMobil has decided, just one second. ExxonMobil has decided to discontinue our services from 2024. So ExxonMobil, which was actually one of our largest clients in 2023, they have decided to discontinue our services from 2024 onwards. This is a big problem, right? We just lost our largest client, and services business is a people-based business. So what do we do with the people who are working on ExxonMobil? There could be probably hundreds of different kinds of people working on ExxonMobil. Let's see. We will cross the bridge when it comes. Right now, the information that we have is that ExxonMobil is not going to continue the business. Next point. Talks with Microsoft have fructified. Contract is under discussion. Likely commencement of retainer from 1st of March at $3.5 million per month. So like I told you, the contract discussion usually takes a couple of months. So we are at the end of 2023. We anticipate that Microsoft contract, they have given us a soft confirmation that they're going to start working with us. The contract, the legal teams are discussing the contract and the finer points. And we anticipate that the actual work will start from 1st of March 2024. So we can estimate some revenue from 1st of March 2024 at $3.5 million per month. L&T has asked for a scope and fee reduction of 20% from April 24 onwards. So L&T is paying us $1.5 million per month till March. And then they have asked us for a 20% reduction, which translates to 300K reduction. And I'll continue $1.2 million till the end of the year. Now, whatever the reason might be, they may not be executing certain projects, or we may not be deploying the same level of software engineers on the client place. Whatever might be the reason, the scope and the fee both are going to come down from April onwards, which we have now given effect to in the upcoming budget. Ministry of Tourism are planning for a bigger project, roughly $4 million, split equally between April and May. So Ministry of Tourism, last year they did $1 million project. So this year they are planning to do a $4 million project, equally split between April and May. Okay, so we have $4 million captured in April and May in the upcoming budget for 2024. Management aims to achieve an overall revenue growth of 12% over 2023. Okay, so last year we did $125.8 million, and 12% revenue growth translates to somewhere close to $141 million. Okay, $141 million. But when I took stock of my existing clients, I noticed that my tally comes to only $87.3 million. Okay, so what can be done now? Management wants to see $141 million. We are only at $87.3 million. So what can be done? Type your responses in the chat box. What can be done? Let me repeat that. We took stock of all our existing clients. We looked at our existing contracts, renewals, who's going to renew, who's not going to renew. And the total for the next financial year comes only at $87.3 million. But the management is expecting $141 million of budgeted revenue for next financial year. So what can be done? Now, Nikhil says additional clients. Okay. Cham says maybe revisit the target. So are you going to go and tell the CEO that, sorry, sir, your target setting is wrong? You're going to tell the CEO that, sorry, Mr. CEO, we won't be able to achieve this. Who's going to do that? We can look for new clients. Okay. New clients is one aspect. What else? New clients is the right answer. New client is the right answer. New product category, new business with better rates, having a meeting with account managers. So existing account managers meetings are done. Basis your meetings, you have already populated these numbers. So there can't be anything that can be done with your existing managers, existing clients. Explore more markets globally, strategic. But what will you put in the Excel sheet, sir? You are actually FP&A manager for this. You have to complete the budget and submit it at 2 o'clock now to the CFO. And you are saying explore global markets. So what will you put in the Excel sheet? Okay, let's give it 30 more seconds. Increase fees. Your existing clients will not pay fees. Increase quantity with existing contracts. No, we've already done that. We already had our conversations with existing clients, right? So new clients, whoever mentioned new clients, that is the answer. Okay. So what will happen typically? Yeah, Swati, negotiations with existing clients and all is done already. Okay, there is no scope for negotiation. You inform the team about shortfall. Okay, so team meaning you will inform the leadership about shortfall. So you will go and say, sorry, Mr. CEO, we won't be able to do $141 million this year. Can you please give us a lower target? Okay, I'm not discounting that option. That may be your last option, right? Okay, so whoever said new, come back, pay attention on the screen now. Whoever said new business, okay, that is the right answer. Typically what happens in a services business is that you will have a pipeline of conversations going on with potential clients, okay? Your CRM system, your customer relationship management system will capture a list of clients. There'll be bids coming up. There'll be, government contracts. There could be private clients who will be putting up work out there, right? And you will be bidding for these projects. So in any service company, you will consistently be pitching for different kind of clients. So what you will do, you will look at your pipeline of potential clients and then try and gauge the probability of what would be your client win. Let's say client number A or client A, we may have an 80% chance of winning this client. As client number B, we may have 50% chance of winning this client. So you look at your existing pipeline or continuing pipeline, new business pipeline, and then draw some scientific conclusion out of that new business pipeline that your you will be putting or you will be achieving X new business in the upcoming financial year. Okay. Now there are two ways to put this in the Excel sheet to complete my budget. Pay attention here. Okay. One is I can say a new business line item. One is I can say a new business line item. I can put some estimated number here. That is also right. Okay. But a little bit scientific way to do is I assess my ongoing conversations in the pipeline. Okay. And try and take a slightly intelligent guess as to what might happen. For example, I might say client number one, retainer. This will probably start from March. Let's say $3 million. Okay. $3 million is not something which is very high, right? Our average clients have been in this range. Then I can say, okay, client number two, let's say could be another retainer, which may possibly start from March, let's say 2,500. Yeah, I'm just putting in the numbers. These numbers are not coming randomly. These numbers are coming basis your assessment of your pipeline. Okay. What is a pipeline and what are the client discussions that are happening? Okay. So where are we now? We are roughly at $137.3 million. We have to reach till $141 million. So what I can do, just like how we have got the Ministry of Tourism project, we may get some random projects here and there in this year as well, isn't it? So maybe what I'll do is I'll put one project a quarter for $1 million each. Now, from a placeholder standpoint, I'm putting it at the end of every quarter. That doesn't mean it will come in March 24 itself. This may come on the 1st January of 24. This may come in February. This may come mid-February, mid-March. I don't know. Basis my assessment right now, I am putting that I will get some or the other project in March or rather in Q1 for 1,000 or for $1 million. Okay. So I'll now total it up. It is coming to 12.3%. Management guidance was at least 12%. So 12.3% is okay. 141.3 million seems to be okay. Now pay attention here. What happened here? When we took stock of our existing clientele, okay, we were able to reach $87.3 million. In technical terms, what is this called? This is called confirmed business. Okay. We know that at the start of the year, we are sitting on $87.3 million of confirmed contracted business committed by our clients, existing clients. Okay. The balance that we plugged as client one, client two, and project, this is called unidentified new business, which means I don't know where this new business is going to come from at this point in time when I'm preparing the budget, but it will come from some client in the pipeline that I'm pitching for. Clear? So this is called unidentified new business. Okay. Confirm new business, unidentified new business. No business will start with 100% clarity. Okay. Everybody will have some or the other component of unidentified new business. They don't know where that growth, they don't know where that new business, extra new business is going to come from. Okay. But it will come from some client in the pipeline. That is what is the intelligent assumption you can take. You're sitting at the end of 2023. Basis your intelligent assumptions, you are building your budget for 2024. Now, a question for you. I want you to answer in the chat box. Don't overthink this. Just answer a yes or no or high or low. Okay. 38% of your new business target or your target for next year, 141.3 million is your target, right? 38% of your target for next year is unidentified new business. Now, is this high or low? I want your responses in the chat box. Come on, come on, come on. Don't lose focus. Is it high or low? Okay. Most of you are saying high, low, high, 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 high. Okay. Got it. So most of you, Nikhil says, based on the past trends, we can tell. Okay. Okay. So most of you are saying high, right? Now, let me tell you whether it is high or low. It matters on the historical performance of the business. Now, in the past, let's say if I take the average of last 3 years, and in the last 3 years, I have easily done 40 to 45% of new business, then 38% is not a high number. But in the past 3 years, if my average has been ranging anywhere between 12 to 15%, then 38% is high. I don't know where this new business is going to come from. I don't know what the management is smoking, right? Then we'll have to sensitize that, boss, 38% new business has never been achieved. Do you have any concrete confirmation from the client which is making us put this 38% unidentified new business in the budget? We will ask this question as an FP&A professional to the business teams. Okay. Now let's assume that 38% is okay. There's nothing wrong with 38% and we stick to this number. Okay. Here we have got our revenue budget, which is $141.3 million. This then gets presented to the CEO, to the business unit leader, whoever. Then they finally approve it. Okay. And then this gets uploaded in the system to become our revenue budget for 2024. Okay. Now we tackled only the revenue line item. So this way, objectively, we'll tackle all the cost line items, SG&A, operating expenses, and finally we arrive at the estimated operating profit. So the end outcome of the budget looks pretty much like a P&L statement. Okay. So this is how a revenue budget in a B2B business is executed. Okay. Now, again, in B2C business, you will have certain factors like price and quantity. You'll multiply price and quantity and then come at your revenue. Again, your quantity of sales will be given by your business teams, like how you collected from the business teams here, and your pricing will be given by your pricing team. Okay. And you build a revenue budget for a product-based company as well, or a manufacturing company, as the case might be. But the steps more or less are exactly the same. Okay. Now, again, I'm just stressing on that point that none of these have got anything to do with your accounting standards or IFRS or US GAAP or your chartered accountancy or anything like that, right? The very fact that these are commercial based items, right? You will be required to understand these performance conversations. I've shared the solution in the chat box, what we just did. Please download it on your desktop or whatever, and then type done in the chat box once you download it. I'll wait for a minute and then we'll move to the next example. Okay. I see a few dones here. Correct. You are able to see my presentation, right? Which says B2B revenue budget case study. Okay. Got it. Okay. Pay attention on the screen again. Let's get started with the next topic. We saw the 4 core activities. In that we saw budget, in that we saw revenue budget example. We understood what is confirmed new business, unidentified new business, how a revenue budget for a B2B services company is built. Okay. Now let's try and understand what is a forecast, right? So next topic is forecasting. So let's try and understand what is a forecast. Okay. The top table that you see, just pay attention here. This is budget for 2024. Okay, where it has estimated revenue, cost, and estimated profits. And the representation says BUD, which means budget. Okay. And you will notice that the budget for the entire financial year is $1.35 million at 12% margin or profit. Okay. Now, this budget 2024 you have prepared at the end of 2023. Now, you have to prepare forecast for January 2024, which means you have already now reached the end of January 2024. Okay. So this is something called as 1+9 forecast. 1+11 forecast. 1 month of actuals and 11 month of forecast. I'm not calling it budget. Forecast. Budget number once frozen and uploaded in the system, it will not get changed every now and then. What you track after that is the forecast. Okay. So after January, I have my actual numbers. I had actually budgeted for 100, but I ended up doing $90,000 of sales. Okay, fair enough. At the end of January, when I have to prepare my 1+11 forecast, I come and ask questions to my business team that, hey, will the assumptions that we had during the budget still hold good? If yes, then what I'll do is I'll take my February to December numbers the same as budget. If not, then I can make some amendments as well. I can make this 105, I can make this 107, 110, whatever. Okay. In this particular example, I'm using the representation as forecast and I'm taking the same numbers as that of the budget. But my annual forecast number has changed. It is now at 1.34 million. It is trending at 1.34 million. Okay. So this is called as 1+11 forecast. Now, before you ask me questions, let's just move one step further and see what happened in March 2024. So now we have completed Q1. We are sitting at the end of March 2024. We have 3 months of actuals. In some months we did excellent. In some months we did not do well. At the end of March 2024, again, I'm going to prepare my Q1 forecast, or it is called 3+9 forecast. 3 months of actuals, 9 months of forecast. Okay. Now at the end of March 2024, I'm again going to go to the business teams and ask the assumptions that, hey, the assumptions that we had for April to December during budgeting exercise, do they still hold good? In this example, they are. If not, you are free to edit the forecast and say, okay, I'll put 107 here, 110 here, 105, 109, whatever. Okay. At the end of Q1 forecast, here, I'm seeing that my yearly forecasted revenue is $1.36 million, which is slightly higher than my budgeted revenue number of $1.35 million. Okay, so this is called 3+9 forecast. I hope you are able to appreciate the difference between a budget and a forecast. A budget is a one-time activity carried out just before the start of the financial year, which will give you your estimated P&L for the upcoming financial year. But forecast is more about tracking the ongoing performance of the business at the end of every month or at the end of every quarter, depending on what cycle your company follows. Okay, and estimating the balance months basis the latest market assumptions. Okay, that is what is a forecast. Classic question in an FP&A interview. Can you explain the difference between a budget and a forecast? Why can't forecast be called as an amended budget, right? They will confuse you by asking these questions. Okay, so this is where the difference between budget and forecast comes in. Okay, so we saw a budget example and we also tried to understand what is a forecast. We also tried to understand what is a forecast. Okay, now the next section comes management commentaries. In order to execute your management commentary, you will be undertaking these two activities: variance analysis, which will be comparing different kinds of numbers, trying to understand the business reasons behind these variances, and also profitability analysis, different types of profitability depending on how your company is structured. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just quickly show you a management report example. Now there could be n number of management reports: flash report, monthly report, quarterly report. There could be a number of different kind of reports. So what I'm going to show to you is a budget meeting presentation. So we completed the budgeting exercise and we went into the leadership meeting to present the budget. Okay. So in this case, this is a real example that I've taken. Of course, I've sanitized the numbers and the names. So this was a real 2023 budget that was presented, or a revised budget that was presented. That's why you see the date is a little bit late. Okay. And then compared to 2022. So what are the slides here? So you will notice that I'm comparing it with my previous year. Now I'm just starting with my 2022 actual results. How has my 2022 actual results been compared to 2021? What is the growth? What will be the reasons for growth? I present all of these things in the slide. Then I'm going to talk about some details. how 2022 has been, what has worked for us, what has not worked for us. Green is something which is positive, red is something which is negative. I'll talk about it. I'll give some reasons around it. Then I'm going to start the 2020 to practice-wise breakup, which is various departments, how they have done, which departments have done well, which departments have not done well. And then finally, we get into, after analyzing 2022, discussing a little bit about the past, we get into 2023 budget discussion, which is the upcoming financial year budget discussion. What is the projected revenue? Green is your confirmed revenue. Orange that you see or amber that you see is unidentified business. In this case, 25% was unidentified business for the start of the financial year, which was significantly high according to me. Right, so but we started with it. This is what we are aiming for. $27 million is what we were aiming for in that financial year. Okay, how is it compared to the last 5 years? How has been the post-COVID growth, right? Post-COVID, we have recovered. 12% growth is what we are expecting in the coming financial year. A quarterly breakup of the sales. You'll notice that Q3 and Q4 are heavy in terms of sales, and in the past also they have been the same. Q3 and Q4 have been slightly heavier than the first 2 quarters. Practice-wise sales, practice-wise 5-year trend, what is working well, what is not working well, all of these examples, right? And then finally, a snapshot. Staff cost is something which we were tracking very closely. So you'll see that revenue with staff cost. The amber that you see here is actually unidentified new business. And the trend line that you see is actually staff cost. You will notice that some staff cost is increasing and decreasing. Actually, here it is high because the revenue number is low. It's not because the staff cost is high, because the revenue number is low. As and when during the year our revenue keeps increasing, our staff cost also keeps decreasing, which means that we are going to make the investment in people before, and then the revenue will come, and these people will get 100% occupied or being deployed on certain clients. Again, some department-wise performance, the reds, the greens, which is doing well, which is not doing well. So this is again one small example of a management report. You will end up preparing tons and tons of different kind of management reports in your FP&A role, right? So that is what I wanted to kind of quickly share with you. Okay, so yeah, let me share my screen. Yeah. So in the interest of time, let me move forward. We have covered different examples. We have covered examples of budgeting. We have covered examples of forecasting. And we saw one example of a management report as well. There could be, again, a number of different kind of reports or management commentaries or management reports that you will be preparing in your regular FP&A role. So this is, I just wanted to give you a taste of working in FP&A in the last 30, 40 minutes, so that you now understand how different is it from your controllership, your compliance oriented functions, and what you will need to do to rewire yourself to work in the roles. Now, the stakeholder interaction with different teams will also be very unique in this case, right? So finance will not be a role of isolation. At regular intervals, you will be collecting a lot of inputs and updates from various business teams, right? And you will be providing them or empowering them with certain reports and insights so that they can take informed decisions. Okay. Now, with HR, typically, you will be discussing about workforce planning, headcount forecasting, salary, increments, incentives, benefits. All of these things you will be discussing with HR and planning your manpower and staff costs. With sales, you will be discussing about revenue forecasting, revenue budgets, pipeline analysis, sales performance metrics, KPIs, sales officer incentives, commission planning. All of these things you will be discussing with the sales head and the sales department. Marketing, different types of marketing, their ROI, which campaign is doing well, which campaign is not doing well, how much is the marketing budget allocated for which channel of marketing, how much is digital, how much is traditional. All of these things you will be understanding from market or discussing with the marketing teams. Production and operations, you'll be discussing capacity planning, utilization, what is the productivity, what is the yield ratio, what is the normal wastage, is there any abnormal wastage, efficiency. All of these things you will be discussing with production and operations team. And finally comes supply chain, where we'll be talking about inventory management, working capital optimization, freight cost analysis, looking at your supply chain and making things smoother. All of those things are something which we'll be discussing with the supply chain. So this way, your role will not be a role of isolation. You'll be discussing a lot of things, a lot of aspects with various business teams. And it is your duty as an FP&A team to be the bridge between these various business teams and the senior management in the company. Okay. So that's why FP&A also kind of enjoys this unique position of sitting very close to the CFO's office and having a broad, I would say, a eagle-eye view of what's happening in your business. Yeah. So that's what FP&A is all about. Now, the question comes, how do you prepare for FP&A roles, right? These are not taught to you in your accounting qualifications. Now, how do you prepare for it? Now, there are some tips I can share with you. First, start by leveraging your sector experience. For example, let's say if you are working in an insurance company in the accounting role, then try for an FP&A role in an insurance company. At least you have industry familiarity. At least you understand the terminologies that are being used in this industry, right? Similarly, if you're working in an audit function, and let's say you have audited a lot of software companies, okay, you understand the terminologies, then try and look for an FP&A role in a software company. Industry familiarity works a lot. Then study management reports. Even in your accounting role, try and make friends with the FP&A teams, with the management accounting teams, and try and study some management reports. Look at how a budget is built. Look at how a forecast is built. Look at how a management commentary looks like. Look at how a CFO dashboard looks like. Try and get some sneak peek into how these management reports work. You may not learn exactly how to compute them or work on them, but at least get a view of how these reports look like in your respective companies. Make compliance your bridge, right? So for example, again, if you're saying you're working in an audit function or an accounting function, right? Try and look for a blended role or a hybrid role where you have a little bit of both. You have a little bit of compliance as well. You have a little bit of commercial aspects as well. That paint your bridge. Immediately, if you want to go in a very large company in a very specific role, that may or may not be possible. But hybrid roles are definitely possible. Yeah. Then comes your Power BI, Tableau, or any of these data visualization tools that can be your advantage, because business teams do not understand Excel sheets like we do, right? So that's why visualization tools will come to your rescue. Again, these are not substitutes for your conceptual understanding, but these are more like an aid to your conceptual understanding. Create a reason with the qualification. There are certifications available out there, which we'll also talk about it in a while, right? And you can create this reason in the company by with this qualification, saying that, okay, I'm a certified FP&A professional and I want to work in FP&A and see how that and where that takes me, right? So these are some of the things which will help you prepare for FP&A roles as well. Okay. Now let's do a quick recap of today's session before we get into the next section. So we try to understand about the controller world. How is it different from FP&A world? We try to understand the conversations around technology, stakeholders, reporting that happens in the FP&A world. We try to understand key FP&A activities like budgeting. We saw an example of a B2B revenue company budget. We also saw forecasting, how forecasting is tracking ongoing performance of the business, tracking ongoing performance of the business. There are 3+9 forecast, 1+11 forecast. All of those things we covered in the FP&A activity example as well. We also saw a management report example where we did a budget presentation, right? And understood how a real life budget presentation looks like. Again, a very simplified version of a budget presentation, but again, a real life budget presentation could be slightly more complicated as well. Then we looked at what are some of the tips and strategies that will help you transition into FP&A roles, using sector advantage, using a certification, Power BI, Tableau. All of these things could be important for moving into FP&A roles as well. Now, what we have done is we have done an extensive survey at FPI, and we have identified 5 core skill sets that CFOs and FP&A leaders or finance leaders are looking for in their teams today. Which are these 5 core skill sets? First is core FP&A concepts, right? Budgeting, forecasting, management reporting, right? Margin analysis, profitability analysis, all of these things come under core FP&A concepts. Then comes your financial modeling. Financial modeling specific to FP&A, right? That is your revenue model, business model, scenario planning, sensitivity analysis, trend analysis. All of these things is financial modeling. Then comes data storytelling, right? How do you communicate your data story effectively through a proper insight, through a proper visualization, through a proper narrative? That is what is important when you're interacting with the business teams, because they can't filter out or work on 10,000 lines of Excel sheets like how we are doing, right? Then comes your business partnering, your business acumen, your ability to build strong cross-function relationships and influence the business to take prudent financial decisions. That is what is true business partnering. Okay. Then comes your technology, leveraging technology and AI developments that are happening in the finance world. So these are the 5 core skill sets that CFOs today are looking for in their finance function. Interestingly, one of the insights that came out of this survey is that 79% of the CFOs said that it is generally difficult to find the right talent, which means that there's a lot of demand for FP&A today. Everybody is looking for experienced FP&A professionals, but there are not enough FP&A professionals out there. So which means that there's a huge demand. We've also seen that on an average, FP&A manager roles are getting 25 to 30% higher salary than regular finance and accounting roles. Okay. And you can take out any salary survey and that will tell you that. Okay. And with this, what's happening is that today, anything you do in FP&A, a little bit of knowledge in FP&A, one certification in FP&A can really get a lot of attention on your resume. Okay. So what we have done is to bridge this talent gap at FPI, we have come up with our own program. It's called Certified Global FP&A Professional Program, the CGA program. Okay. So CGFPA program, it's a global FP&A certification built and delivered by CFOs and leaders. Yeah. Built and delivered by CFOs and FP&A leaders It has 10 comprehensive modules, which we'll talk about it in a while. Everything delivered through experiential and simulations, right? Real life simulations, real life like case studies. Okay. You'll always be part of a global alumni network. Students with more than 25 countries have taken the CGFPA program. You'll also get sessions with a personalized career coach. You'll get placement support in the sense you'll get your resume reviewed. You will get your LinkedIn profile optimized. We'll do some mock interviews, right? We share a lot of jobs in the alumni community. We are very active in the alumni community. I'm personally connected with more than 200 CFOs, keep getting a lot of job requests, which we share that in the WhatsApp group, alumni WhatsApp group that we have. On an average, we share at least like 1 to 2 positions a day now in the WhatsApp group, right? So we'll try everything in our power to kind of help you placed. But again, this is not a guarantee, but more of a placement support. Access to Q&A sessions. Monthly, we meet once. You can ask any questions that you might have, even after the course is over as well. Access to external speaker sessions. We bring in the best professionals, global FP&A leaders, technology providers, CFOs as guest speakers to our session so that our alumni gets benefit of the latest that's happening in the finance world. And all of this happens seamlessly through our best-in-class LMS, WhatsApp groups, and our Zoom meeting that we conduct for our live sessions as well. Okay. So now what are the 10 modules that are involved or rather included in the CGFPA program? I will let Asif cover the first 5 modules that you see on the left, and then I'll take some modules on the left, on the right.
Yeah, sure. So let me talk about the modules starting from budgeting and forecasting. So budgeting and forecasting, we cover all the basic concepts, including different methods and techniques used for budgeting, forecasting, including your top-down budgeting, bottoms-up budgeting, incremental budgeting, zero-based budgeting. How do you do annual operating plan, rolling forecast? All of those basics of budgeting techniques and forecasting are covered, along with step-by-step guidance on preparing the budget for a real life like organization, right from starting the revenue side of the budget to the expenses to the cost of goods sold to inventory, SG&A, capex. So the entire budget step by step using a real life company data. And that is also one of the capstone projects in the CDFP program, where you present to the CFO the budget analysis or the budget presentation at the as one of the outcomes of that particular module. I saw one question in the chat box. So in this module, what we do is we try to bring in all the latest AI tools and techniques that earlier we used to do manually or using Excel now can be to a certain extent be automated or be done in a more productive way. So we try to bring in tools which are specific tools which could be related to some of the common ones are obviously Chat GPT and Copilot, but then there are specific AI tools that are used for budgeting, forecasting. There are tools that used for automating a lot of modeling and Excel related work. So we try to share all of the FP&A AI use cases in that particular module. Management reporting is a lot of common FP&A reports that usually we use or we prepare on a monthly basis, including your month-end reports, your reports that go on a weekly basis, your flash reports, or it could be the reports that you prepare for specific teams like sales report or marketing report or headcount report, and also performance management frameworks like balance scorecard, KPIs, along with variance analysis that we touched upon in today's webinar, profitability analysis. So that is a little bit about the management reporting module. Financial modeling for FP&A is a very focused module where we bring in how you can apply financial modeling best practices to P&A use cases. How do you create revenue models? How do you prepare forecasts that are for cash flow forecast, for example? How do you prepare capital budgeting models? How do you do that in Excel? Along with how do you do scenario planning, sensitivity analysis? So that is a little bit about the financial modeling module. And on the right hand side, you see some more modules which include data analytics, financial analysis, and strategy, business storytelling presentations. I'll cover all of those modules on the right hand side.
Thanks, Asif. So modules that you see on the right, data analytics, one thing that will be common in your FP&A roles is that you will be dealing with large chunks of data, whether it is financial data or operational data, and you need to know your way to navigate through that data. So that is where we cover Power BI, Power Query, and other data analytics tools so that you are comfortable using these tools. We don't claim to make you an expert in these tools, but at least we take you to a level where you are comfortable using these tools in your day-to-day working life as well. Then comes financial analysis, different types of financial analysis, profitability analysis, variance analysis, horizontal analysis, vertical analysis, margin analysis. All these things are covered in financial analysis. So typically when we think about financial analysis, only ratio analysis comes to our mind, debt equity ratio, gross margin ratio. But ratio analysis is not just the only analysis that happens, because you will have to analyze things from a CFO's perspective or from an internal stakeholders perspective. Storytelling and presentations, again, like I mentioned to you, that there are various storytelling frameworks that we use, presentation frameworks that we use, so that you are able to effectively convert your data or your analysis into insights and then communicate that with the right visual, with the right narrative to your stakeholders. Then comes strategy. Any strategic decision taken in the company would be incomplete without a sound financial analysis, whether it is expanding to a new geography, whether it is acquiring a new company or starting a new plant or anything like that, right? So that's where we cover all the popular strategic frameworks in the class and also link it to how they can support in these strategic frameworks. So that tomorrow, when you grow up to the ranks of the CFO or CFO -1, they will talk in terms of strategic terms, right? Or they will talk strategy. And if you don't understand strategy in the same language that your seniors are talking, then there'll be a disconnect. That's where we cover in the strategy module. Then comes your business partnering. Your business partnering is all about building your business acumen. How do you think like a CEO? And number of use cases, collaborating with HR, collaborating with sales team, collaborating with business development. All these different kind of case studies we cover to help you understand how you can become an effective finance business partner. All in all, 10 solid modules, everything that you need to be successful at FP&A. Don't just think about CPA as a course. It's a fast track 2 decades of experience compressed into 6 months, right? That's how you should be looking at a program. Now, what is the eligibility for the CPA program? You need to have a bachelor's degree or a global equivalent in finance, accounting, or business. Or alternatively, you may have your professional qualifications like CA, CPA, CMA, CFA, ACCA, or equivalent of your respective country. So we don't claim to be a substitute for these primary qualifications. In fact, we are a supplement to these qualifications. We are also CPD UK accredited. You can claim any continuing credits in any of your professional qualifications as well. Now, how will you get the CGFP award? 2 conditions. One is you need to attend live online classes, which happen every Saturday for 2 hours. At least 50% of the classes need to be attended live. And you also need to submit your capstone. And once you do that, you will be eligible for the final examination. The final examination will be a 2 hours, 100 marks, 50 questions, multiple choice questions examination. And once you clear the examination, you will be awarded the CGFPA certificate from P&A Professionals Institute. We are a private body at this point in time, registered in the UAE. We are not accredited with any government institution. So I'm just being upfront and clarifying that. Now, the ROI for a program like this, I leave it to your imagination. But the course fee investment in this program is $1,695 USD. There's also an option to pay it in 5 installments. Then the duration for this will be 6 months. During these 6 months, every Saturday we meet live for 2 hours. Okay. And apart from that, about 1.5 to 2 hours of your own time investment is required, because we will be sharing with you some case studies, pre-reading materials, some workings, which you will need to prepare and then come to the classroom so that we are able to optimize the time in the classroom. This is designed for busy working executives. So that's why we ask only to meet on every Saturday just for 2 hours. Okay. Typically, this class will be from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. IST. The upcoming class will be, September cohort will be from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. IST every Saturday for 2 hours. Okay. Cool. The date that you need to remember is 31st of July 2025. That is when the first round of applications are closing for the next cohort. This is cohort 6. So already 5 cohorts. The 5th cohort is on right now. The 4th cohort has already completed 50%. 5th cohort has just started a couple of weeks ago. The next cohort is going to start in September. The first round of applications are going to close on 31st of July 2025. The application link and the brochure link has been shared in the chat box. You can ask any of our participants. Just don't take our word for it. Reach out to any of our participants, connect with our previous alumni, and they'll tell you how valuable the program has been for them. Many of them have been able to transition into FP&A roles. Many of them have been able to implement a lot of frameworks that they've learned in their job. So it's a course that can definitely be super valuable for you, if not life-changing, right? So make sure that you talk to any of our alumni and they'll give you a picture about how the CGFPA program has been for them, okay? Just a reminder again that the first round of applications for cohort 6 are closing on 31st of July, 2025.
All right. Thank you so much for joining, and we will see you in one of our upcoming webinars or in one of our certifications. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Bye.